Should you start a side hustle? It seems like everyone out there is doing it. You see it all over online. You see this big rise in side hustles since COVID's hit and everything's gone digital. So you might feel that pressure. Should I start some more income streams? Should I get my side hustle going? Should it be all about my passion? There's probably all sorts of questions that have come in through your head. So I want to get to the heart of the matter today and explain three things. Number one, what a side hustle actually is. Number two, what's happening in the world right now with side hustles? And then number three, should you start a side hustle? I've got a very specific opinion on this and I want to share it with you today. Lastly, if you're side hustling, this is one option in what I call living the uncaged life. The point is you want to control work and control life so that it's operating on your terms. A side hustle can get you there. If you want to dive more, though, into the uncaged life, I give a lot of good depth week after week in my Wednesday Wisdom newsletter. You can check that out at matthewdoan.com. It's right on the front page. Check out Wednesday Wisdom. All right, let's dive into the episode.
Growing up, society taught you to follow the script by choosing a career path and climbing the ladder. But for many people, this promise falls flat. Work suffocates them and life becomes painful. Here, you're trapped in what I call the corporate cage. Fortunately, there's a way out. You can take control of your corporate job and unlock a life of freedom. I call this living uncaged. Hi, this is your host, Matt Doan. I'm a coach, creator, and entrepreneur. Uncaging people is my mission because it's been my exact life journey. This show provides you the stories, principles, and tactics to make it happen. Welcome to Uncage Yourself.
So, three things that we're going to cover today. What a side hustle is, what's happening with side hustles today, and should you start a side hustle? So first one, what is a side hustle? I have people coming to me all the time in my coaching business and in my courses asking, how do I start my side hustle? And that's not where I'd like to start because I ask them to explain and they say, I just want to get my real estate investment portfolio moving. And we quickly have to get to the point on investments versus side hustles. Investments are real estate, cryptocurrency, stocks. There's different ways that we can actually generate more assets, more financial security and potential in our life. A side hustle is not that. An investment is something that actually builds wealth. So keep that in mind. That's something that takes active work, but then ideally you systematize it and you automate it so those investments are working for you in the background, hopefully somewhat passively. Investments are, again, real estate, cryptocurrencies, stocks, bonds. There's a few other asset categories I won't get into now, but those are investments. Talk to your financial advisor. Trust me, there's a lot you can get into. Now, what is a side hustle? Simply said, a side hustle is a business. This is not a hobby. This is not an investment strategy. It's an actual business that you are running. It consists of a mission. You have goals. You have a target audience in the world that you're hoping to serve. You have products and services that serve them. And you have ideally some results. Sometimes those results are intangible. You want to create good in this world. You want to add meaning to people's lives. And you're not looking for financial incentive immediately. Maybe not. But inevitably, if you do this long enough and you want it to sustain you, a side hustle needs to add to your income stream. It needs to be generating some sort of profit that helps you go because we can't operate without income in life. So a side hustle is a business. It has a business model and it helps you execute on your goals so that you get returns. Okay. We call it side hustle because it's generally something that's happening on the side in a part-time capacity in addition to a full-time gig. So most of the people listening to this episode have a corporate job, or maybe you work at a startup. Whether it's a small, medium, or large company, you've got a full-time gig and you're wrestling with how to manage that. And the side hustle comes up in the sense that you feel that there's potential and that you could earn extra income and feel fulfilled in doing so. So that side hustle comes to life in different ways. These days, since COVID times, we're seeing a lot in online business, whether that's e-commerce, whether that's teaching online with coaching or consulting or courses. You can even go to the point of brick and mortar. Some people want to open up franchised locations of restaurants. That's another viable way of spinning up a side hustle eventually into something bigger. But there's lots of ways that we can spin up a side hustle, but it is a business. It is not an investment. Second point today, what's happening in the world of side hustles? Like I said, COVID has launched a whole new era and a whole new set of people getting into the world of side hustles. We have now this extra time, flexibility, set of interests that we've experienced since going remote. And a great deal of us are still remote. And we want to ask ourselves what's possible now. And we're looking around, and you go on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or TikTok or YouTube, and you see side hustles coming to life. People that are podcasters, YouTubers, they're teaching online schools for personal finance. They're teaching you how to pursue certain passions of yours. There's every variation of side hustle popping up. People are pushing themselves more and more, turning their passions and interests into actual viable side hustles that can create income and fulfillment for you. So keep those in mind. That's what we're seeing around us. Me, as an example, I'll tell you about my side hustle journey. For years, while I was still in corporate and management consulting, I had this entrepreneurial bug and I didn't know what to do with it. But when COVID hit, it gave me a lot of time at home, a lot of good questions popped into my mind. What could I do with this entrepreneurial bug, this urge that I had? So I was able to first launch a coaching business, launch a podcast and a newsletter and social content. And it took several iterations where I thought I was serving what audience, tried that. It didn't feel so fulfilling. I lost energy for it. I tried another angle. And here I am now, having experimented several times over, serving those that feel like they're stuck in the corporate cage, and I'm helping them live uncaged professionally and personally, where they have more autonomy and freedom in their lives, more say, even if you're working in corporate. That's where it led me. But my side hustling built up a flow of income. It created over time a sense of purpose, clarity on who I was serving. And it took a lot of work to get there, a lot of failures, a lot of getting back up, a lot of motivation. But now I'm at the point, as of early 22, where I could say goodbye to corporate. It didn't make sense for me to stay in corporate anymore. I knew I needed to convert my side hustle into a full-time entrepreneurial endeavor. So here I am now talking to you as a full-time entrepreneur. Now, not everyone needs to do that. Sometimes the side hustle can be perpetual. You might want to always balance that safety net, that comfort, that reliability of a corporate situation in addition to a side hustle. Very, very viable. Okay. So that's what's happening in the world of side hustles. Now, the most important question, third point today, should you start a side hustle? I have a very simple answer for you. All right. Hear me out. Yes, if it brings you energy. Okay. Yes, you should start one if it brings you energy. A lot of people will go out there and start side hustles because it brings them income. So you'll see someone start an e-commerce, a drop shipping business through Amazon, where they have no joy in doing so, but they see a pure income generating possibility, more cash flow, therefore I'm going to do it. But what they don't realize at the start is that it takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and it takes time for this to work. It doesn't happen overnight. So if you jump into a side hustle that doesn't bring you energy or doesn't have the potential of bringing you energy for the long term, I highly advise against it. Wait for a better idea. Choose your timing more wisely. Okay. You need to make sure that whatever you jump into with a side hustle is a likelihood that it's going to give you sustained energy where you can go after day, week after week, potentially years, to the point where it could become something very powerful from an income and a fulfillment standpoint. Okay. So keep that in mind. Another thing, if you're turning on the side hustle option in your life, make sure it's grounded in a set of interests, skills, and potentially passionate areas in your life that are uniquely about you. You want to make sure that you feel a part of it. You want to be all in, and you want to make sure that you can get that energy and give that energy to your side hustle. So when you're thinking about it, keep yourself at the core, because if you're not in with full energy, it's not going to work, and it's really not that worth starting. Okay. Now, when you think about results from a side hustle, yes, ideally you'd see some tangible improvements to your life. You'd see more income, you'd see more relationships, maybe more doors open up. But most important, think about this. When you start that side hustle, don't just think about the results, the things that you get, but think about who you'll become. The transformation that someone goes through when they take on an entrepreneurial endeavor, even while still in corporate, keep that in mind, it's very possible. When you take on the side hustle, you're going to have to learn a new mindset, a skill set, a way of managing your time, a way to reprioritize how you're spending your time with all the priorities in your life. It's a huge deal. So think about who the person is that you'll become on the other side of it. We often hear in the idea of side hustle and starting your own business, this idea of passion. I've said this before, passion is not something you find hiding under a rock and then you're just out there all passionate. No, passion is something you cultivate. Think of it like kindling on a fire. You've got a few flames. It's not really doing much yet, but then you fan those flames with all your might. You're just waving that fan, and then it gets bigger and bigger and brighter. And that small kindling, those few flames, become a roaring bonfire. That's what passion is. It takes cultivation. You have to nurture it. You have to give it time, attention, experiment. That's how you bring passion to life. And then passion can evolve over time. But keep that in mind with the side hustle. Think about growing that fire by giving yourself dedicated energy and experiment so that it can become real. Now, just thinking about it, when you launch a side hustle, there's very good reason to do it. If you have the idea of that it can bring you energy, there's very high upside and low downside. It's an experiment. If you can find the time and manage it, there's a lot of reward, in the very near term from an income standpoint, but the doors it could open, the person you become, the people you meet in the process can open up all sorts of opportunities in your life. So I very much advise doing it, but only if you can find energy for doing it over the long term. This is not simple. It's not overnight. There's, of course, other things you have to consider as far as the mechanics of building a side hustle. You have to create the time. You don't find it. You create the time to do it. You have to go through an ideation phase, like what could it be based on my past, based on my ambitions for the future? What sorts of ideas do I have? Okay. Then you'd have to go through market validation to understand, for those you seek to serve, what are their true thoughts and interests and needs? What value could you bring to their life? You might also have to consider platform building, personal brand building. Those are other aspects. How to do sales. This might not be something that's natural to you, but that's for another day. The mechanics of bringing the side hustle to life are another thing. So recapping today, we talked about three things. Number one, what a side hustle is. And remember, it's a business. It's not an investment. That's separate. Number two, we talked about shifts in the global economy, including the rise of creators, online business, digital tools that make this more possible. And number three, if you should start a side hustle, it requires serious energy. There's a lot of upside in doing it. I suggested if you can find the energy, it could be really worth your while, but make sure you're ready for it, that you can maintain it, give it time, focus, and attention, and you're willing to experiment, fall, get back up, and keep going. Okay. So that's what we have on Side Hustles today. I hope this adds value to your life. I just want you to take this part away too, that sometimes you have this fear inside, or this thing that's gnawing at you. I should do this, or I'm scared of this. That's a voice. You need to listen to it and just figure out for yourself, what are the risks worth taking? A side hustle might be one of those risks. If you know it's a part of your future and you need to see what it's capable of, what you're capable of, figure out that risk, tackle it full on, learn from it, keep moving. All right, that's it for today. Thanks.
Hey, Matt here. Thanks for listening to Uncage Yourself. For show notes and more content like this, head over to uncageyourself.fm. And if you liked what you heard, I'd appreciate you leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Until next time, be well, my friend.